Welcome to our weekly Q&A show where we answer submitted questions live on YouTube on Tuesdays at 2 p.m.
What's up, Aaron?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. It's time for another Tuesday Q&A show. We have 2 questions this week, and we have some really good answers. But before we go, should we do a trivia question?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
So we have a trivia question, and the winner of the trivia question can win this dry bag, Rivers of Oregon by Tim Palmer, Rivers of California by Tim Palmer, and that's it. Those are your choices. And the winner has to tell us where this is, what rapid this is. Yeah, actually, we'll try rapid first and river second. So if nobody gets the rapid, I'll say, okay, you can guess the river. So that's today's trivia question. Aaron, I don't think you know it. This is a hard one.
No, I don't think I know this one either. I do. I think you showed me this footage, and I remember. Okay. I know the state.
Okay.
And I don't know if I remember the river either, because it's not one that I'm going to be doing anytime soon, I don't believe.
Well, anybody who, again, those of you that just joined in, this is the trivia question. You can win a little dry bag or a book by Tim Palmer if you can guess the rapid. And we'll come back to this at the end if nobody's guessed. And Aaron, let's get started with questions. I'm pretty excited. We have some good questions today.
All right.
And this is the first one. This person just picked up one of the new high side thwart bags. And look, I have one right here. Check this out, Aaron. I have one so we can talk about it. It holds a Pelican 1200 dry box. I'm planning on rigging a mini max for R2 trips. This will be the primary gear storage space for class 3-4 day trips, assuming the trip wasn't roadside. That's an important thing. It's not roadside. And you weren't on a budget. Ooh, no, you can spend as much as you want. That's good. What would you bring in the box? And he's saying stuff that's already there. So pump, spare, paddles, stuff like that is rigged somewhere else. And we can discuss R1, R2 rigging. So any thoughts? Spare, no expense. First of all, Sean, it's not the Arkansas River. Good guess, though.
Okay, so they're going to do day trips. They're going to be R2ing, and they want to use. Let's go back and look at that a little bit longer.
Okay, and what I just read it to you. What were you doing?
I know,
but
yeah, I know.
Do you even pay attention? Were you looking at the comments?
Yeah, no, I was looking at, but I just want to go. Okay, so day trips, class 3-4. And they're not going to put the pump in there. They're not going to put spare paddles, layers, water, and
like stuff this is like I'm seeing this as like what sort of emergency supplies would you put? And this is a 1200, by the way. If you remember the size of 1200, it's not that big. I'll make myself big here. This is what we use for our thermometers during COVID. And that's how big this box is. It's a thermometer-sized box. And this is the thwart bag he's talking about. High Side's making some really cool new stuff. We talked about their throw bags a couple weeks ago. This throw bag right here, yeah, I'm really digging. It's a great throw bag. They also have these thwart bags, which just to talk about it really quick, why it's really cool, is on top it has these cool handles. So it's a thwart bag with handles with these little Velcro things. I think they're for spare paddles, but I think they wouldn't work. I don't think they work well for spare paddles. And it goes around really well. Lots of little tie down places. And it's designed to go around the valve, which is nice. So all these little tie down things for clipping things on, and a nice thwart bag in the front. It's a pretty cool thwart bag.
Do they have different sizes on the thwart bags, or is that their only size?
It's funny you ask, Aaron, because I was going to let's see if I can go back here. Let me pull this up. I'm gonna go again. Those of you watching, this is the trivia question. We'll show this before I take it away. If you can guess the rapid, you win a prize, and we'll mail you a book or a dry bag or something.
And even if you just think you know the river it's on, throw out the river at the least.
Because if nobody gets the rapid, I'll give you whoever gets the river wins.
And I'll say if someone gets the river, then maybe people could figure out the rapid. So like someone guesses the river, you're like, great, yeah, that's the river, and then they gotta get the rapid. And I don't know if that makes sense, but
okay. So I'm gonna add their website, and we can go through it together. I think they have more sizes, but when I Googled it, this is what I found: thwart handle and case, and it's designed for the Pelican 1200. Let me see if we can go to the navigate the website and figure out if there's more sizes. Gear, safety, and boats parts. They make a lot more stuff than they used to. Would it be under thwart attachments? Yeah, I think it's just this one size.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
because like you, you're really limited with that one. That's like the thwart bag. It'd be nice to be able to put something bigger in it. Like outfitters, I think that's too small. Like for example, for outfitter use.
yeah. I mean, this is a small Pelican box. I think it's
Yeah.
the 1400 that most people have is like their first aid kit or like box. Like if they designed this to fit the 1400, I think that would have been a smarter design. And that's smarter, but more useful to me.
I'm going to say this: if I'm just R2ing, I'm not the thwart bag for me is much more useful when I have people sitting in the compartment where that stuff is rigged. If that makes sense. If I'm R2ing, I would just rig down the front of the tube on one of the or behind me on one of the tubes, and so that way it's like it's not even in the area where we're sitting. You really don't even need the thwart bag. I really like the thwart bags that people are sitting in the, what do you call it, the place between the thwarts. What is that called? The compartment. When you're sitting in a compartment with gear. Yeah, but if you're R2ing, you put that in front, and it doesn't matter. You don't need it for R2ing. That's my point. You see what I'm saying? It's like I wouldn't put that in the compartment I'm R2ing in. I keep that compartment open, and if I'm R2ing, and put that on the front of the thwart.
Okay.
And if I'm putting it on the front of the thwart, then I don't need it. I just put a cam strap around something. I'm not worried about hitting it and get my shins chunked up by it. But I think it's really nice. And
let's say we have a box of stuff. Let's just say I'd much rather have it in this that's padded than me putting a cam strap around it, because
I'd rather put a bunch of small schneidely stuff in there that's gonna like
stuff,
like water bottles, like things that are dangling around. Here. Yeah, and then you can get to them easily. But then it's like if I were
but you just put the water bottles on.
No, but then they're dangling around. I'd rather have
this will dangle around too.
No, you just put a cam strap on that and tighten it down tight to the boat.
No, Aaron, it'll be tight when you're boating, but when you flip, it's gonna come off and be just flapping around.
No, not if you rig it well.
You have to drill holes in these things.
No, you don't have to drill holes. One's fine.
If this thing gets hit a bunch, this thing will come loose.
No, but you slide down there, it's good.
Yeah, I don't agree with you.
My point though is Zach, is like I actually might use that and put that right in front of me. If I'm pulling out, I would say I would want this type of setup if I were like taking photos and pulling out a camera a bunch on a trip. Then it would make sense. Open it up, pull it out, boom. I can easily.
See, I totally disagree. When I have my camera out, I want this rig somewhere where I can just get into it, pull the camera, put it right back in.
But if you're R2ing the NAR, you don't want it on top. You want it stuffed away. You're R2ing class 4. You don't want it up high.
If I'm R2ing NAR, I'll drill holes in the bottom. I'll put holes in here and put little loops of rope. And I'll tie it on a thwart from this back over to those, so it's sitting out, but not up in front.
No, on front, exactly.
Like if it's class 3, I'll put it up. I can quickly get to it. If it's NAR, I'll put it forward.
Exactly.
And then I can get my camera a lot, and because I want to take a lot of photos.
So I'm going to say that's my preferred mount way to rig with the Pelican boxes, is what you just talked about. Put the little loops, put a little string through.
You have to drill a hole through here, get a little piece of rope or like 1/2-inch webbing.
And I don't know about you. Do you go around the whole box and then through it, or you just go back and forth?
I go back and forth because then the box you can open it without it'll open and stay on the thwart. If you go from here around the thwart to these and back, then there's no strap over the top, and you get quick access to get the camera and throw it back in really fast. But I'll tell you what, I think you're getting off topic here, Aaron.
No, I'm not. Because I'm going to go back and I'm going to say what I would put in there is I put my water balls in there because they're always dangling around making a mess. Water balls
have less. So if you're throwing it's just stuff in here and closing it up.
Yeah, that's what I use it for. Because then it's awesome.
Maybe throw your layer in there really quick.
Maybe layer if you got a small dry bag too. Maybe I put the small dry bag in there, but your layers can get all wet. But you just got random stuff that you're like, what do I do with this? I'll just put it in that bag and it's gone, and I don't have to put it on my body. It's in there. It's away. I might even have, if I carry a little wrap kit, I might put my little wrap kit in there if I have a little wrap kit, with like pulleys and that.
Well, that's what he's asking. Why not put your wrap kit inside of this box?
I think a wrap kit inside that box is silly.
Okay. I like to keep my pulleys dry. Pulleys rust, they get nasty.
Yeah, and I agree, but I think that the box, I'm not worried about my pulley. Those stuff I put in that box and general stuff that I'm worried about getting broken, like a camera, where it's like,
Okay.
because those leak over time. Honestly, I put my pulleys in a dry bag and just put a little padding around, put them in a dry bag, and then throw it in that little thing.
Okay, let me tell you a couple of things about having used this a little bit. If you use this 1200, it's a little difficult to get in and out.
Oh, really?
Like it's not too bad getting it in, but once it's in, getting out takes some time. And so,
don't you think it's going to loosen up a little bit though after it gets
it
wet
might,
a little
but
bit?
it's tighter than I want it to be. I see this more as like, let me put stuff in here I hardly ever use and want to keep safe, and I'm just going to leave it always in here. Like when I come home, I'm going to detach this thing. I'm not even going to unbuckle these things. I just know I have.
So you're not going to check your Pelican case when you get home to make sure it didn't get water in it?
I might not, because I trust it. This one's brand new. This one's fine.
Yeah, man.
It's a Pelican box. It's fine.
Every Pelican case I've ever used, you open up, there's always some water in it.
Well, it's because you've always worked as a guide and always had like old 20-year-old ones, not brand new ones like this.
Well, I'm just saying, like, and then if you're just going to bury stuff in it, I'll put this. If it's something I'm worried about breaking, I put it in a Pelican box. Otherwise, like kind of like first aid stuff that you don't want to get. You don't want to get your thermometer smashed, or you don't want to get different stuff broken.
Or your first aid kit probably can't get wet.
No, you don't want to get wet either. But if you just don't want something to get wet, I just put it in a dry bag. Because I find dry bags. What I like about dry bags fit to the size of what's inside there. So like if that box isn't all full, it takes up that whole little area. But if my dry bag takes up half of it, then I can put stuff on top of it. Whatever. I got some little thing. What do I do with this? Someone always is like, oh hey, I got this little. I don't know what to do with my sunscreen, or I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to. Oh, here, I'll just throw it in this bag. I'll throw it in my Thor bag.
So this is just your You're just collecting stuff in here. Just tons of stuff in there.
Yeah, cool rocks. Okay. Yeah, someone's like, hey, I got this cool rock. All right, put it in the Thor bag.
Good story, Aaron. Okay, let me tell you what I think now. Well, let me answer this question away. You're on some weird tangents today. I hear you.
I'm not.
So I like that this was designed for this 1200. I'm not gonna put my camera in here because it's hard to get in and out of this bag. I'm not gonna put the rescue kit in there because I want to grab the rescue kit in a rush and go sometimes. And having to fiddle this thing out of here, it's not worth it. But what I think I would put in here is a really good first aid kit. And this, to me, I'll make myself big again. This is my go-to first aid kit for like day trips. This kit that we have these custom bags made. It's made. I gotta take the foam out. I designed this first aid bag, and there's a lot of first aid bags this size to fit in this exact box. And so what I would suggest doing is putting a first aid kit in that box. A couple other things. Let me finish, Aaron, and then you can tear me apart. A couple of things I probably would put in here. I'd put tear aid. This is easy repair stuff. You don't use it very often. If you can like shove it in the side here somewhere, or make room for some tear aid in there.
And you got scissors in your first aid kit as well.
Yeah. So just to go over my first aid kit really quick, because I have a couple of things in here that remember, Aaron, a long time ago, we did live shows about like rescue stuff and safety stuff to bring. This is kind of like that. Just some key things I want to point out that are in this bag.
Oh boy, here we go. Let's just,
hold on.
My only
I just want to point out.
Was,
let me finish there, and then you can just rant all you want. I have a fire starter, which I think is an important thing to have on these like not roadside winter trips. Remember my fancy scissors, Aaron?
Oh yeah, I remember
my
those.
$70 scissors. And I have a couple of just key things, a first aid book. So like if you forget how to dislocate a shoulder, it's in here.
Because I really want you to read the book on how to reduce my dislocated shoulder before doing it.
Yeah, you do. Aaron, I did a dislocated shoulder this on a Grand Canyon trip. I didn't do it, but like they asked me, hey, do you remember how to dislocate a shoulder? And I'm like, kind of. Let's just pull out the book and double check. And it was actually, we were reading it in front of the person. They were glad we had it instead of us just guessing, like pull this way, pull that way. We're not doctors. We're not supposed to remember to do this stuff. And then just normal first aid supplies. So my answer, hold on, before you can rant on me, is my first aid kit, which includes a fire starter and good scissors, tear aid for repair, for like emergency repair. And I love my little spot device. So a little emergency communication device. This for me would be like my emergency kit of stuff in case there's like some kind of thing, and it's going to live in here all the time, and we'll probably never get to it. And I would choose that because again, it's a little bit of work to put the box in and out of here. That's
you're
my answer, Aaron.
I was gonna say I like what you're bringing in there. I say that sounds like great stuff because you're not getting it out of all the time. My question to you, Zach, if you took that first aid kit and put in a dry bag, would it still fit?
Dry bags aren't as good. This dry bag I'm trying to give away. So there's this dry bag right here I'm trying to give away. It's not that dry. This is like, yeah, I know what I normally bring is a watershed.
Would a watershed fit in there? Would any watershed bags fit in there?
No, it's too small.
That's too bad. Because I like that. Then you can pack it down and you got space on top. Because it looks like that box pretty much fills the whole bag.
It fills the whole spot. But you
and the bag is padded too. So if the bag is,
you could custom design this though. You could take this box and say, hey, what's the stuff I need in here? You could put all your first aid stuff right in here. You could put it in Ziploc. Ziplocs of first aid stuff. Throw your fancy scissors in it. Throw some Territ in it. Maybe throw an emergency communication device, which you do have to charge, so you would have to pull this out every time. But you could put this somewhere else too. But I would put this I would make this repair and first aid stuff. Minus, I wouldn't put like a screwdriver in here. That would be stupid, right? Not stupid, but maybe not the best place to put a screwdriver because you want stuff that you're trying to keep dry in this thing. Like a spare oar lock, I probably wouldn't put a spare oar lock in here. I'd probably have it in a separate bag somewhere else.
Then where are you going to store that?
Well, there's also, Aaron. God, you're such a negative Nancy today. There's a little zippers pouch right here, so I could throw a spare right there with maybe a screwdriver and a multi-tool, and you'd be in good shape.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's perfect.
So that's probably what I would do. All right, now that I'm done answering the question, do you want to now finish your answer?
Well, I mean, I think in general yours was a pretty good answer. My point is like with those hard boxes, you're very limited in adjusting the size.
Yeah, and the box takes up space because the plastic is thick. It's not, you're wasting space with the plastic of the box. And if you have foam in there, all that stuff, it's just wasted volume.
And so my thought on it is, depending on how firm that bag is, and if the bag protects stuff in there, then using a dry bag within that bag would probably work pretty well.
It's pretty firm and it's padded.
Yeah.
And the bottom has mesh though, so water's going to get through potentially up, but it's also going to drain. You can see the bottom is. You can see this mesh in the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I do like it though. I will say I do like it for that stuff that I would just, if I were running a SOTAR, I would just rig that box to the floor in my SOTAR. It's really easy. A couple straps through the floor and just strap it down, or one strap.
This is just. I mean, it's not that easy to rig boxes into a raft. It's a little bit.
No, it isn't an R2. You just rig it in the corner, down on the floor. We do that. That's how we did that on all our creek trips. We just rig.
Yeah.
Repair, first aid, just through the floor.
In Pelican boxes.
Just
and
you through the floor.
And you drill the holes in these little.
No.
What'd you rig onto? Just the handle?
Just went through the handle around the whole thing.
All right, whatever. I mean, I wish you had photos of this to share with us. This just sounds like theoretical.
That would be nice. I'm sure they still do it the same way with that. It really works well. Yeah.
Sean says he has the high side bag, and he asks why the strap buckles the bottom. I had the same question. The buckles are down here. They're just like they're kind of hard to get to. I kind of wish they were up. Oh man, I don't even know where I think they're at the bottom because of this thing goes all the way around. They can put it here, but then it might start rubbing on the floor. Anywhere here would rub on the floor. So based on their design, I think they kind of hit them right over here.
Maybe it seems like a safety thing, but yeah, you got to be careful if you're stuffing your foot underneath the thwart.
I mean, they're not going to. I mean, it's kind of nice because you're not going to accidentally hit a knuckle on them or your toes on them. They're behind the bag. I mean, I think it's the best. When I first rigged it, I was annoyed by them, but I thought I couldn't think of a better place to put them. So they're a little tricky to tighten and get off, but It's fine. In my mind, you know, a lot of people, I would maybe leave this bag rigged in my boat. Like I would probably roll this in my boat. Like I would tighten them, and then I would just leave the, you know, because you can get to the valve still. A lot of these things you can't. They cover the valve, and I would just probably leave it rigged in my boat and just pop that box in there every time. Or if I'm running this on a trailer, I'd probably leave my box in there all the time.
I think I just keep it empty to put everything else in and rig your box and put this with one cam strap and you're done.
Yeah, your answer is you wouldn't use it.
No, I would use it for my water bottles and Schneidel,
yeah.
all my Schneidel. I think it's a great Schneidel container.
Schneidel.
It is. It's a Schneidel container. You know, all that stuff you don't know what to do with, just throw it in there. Because otherwise you're clipping off and it's all dangling all over the place, which is not there's like a lot of entrapment issues. When you rig that box down low in the corner against the floor, it's fine. So some guesses here. Okay,
so those of you that have joined late, we're doing a trivia and nobody's gotten it yet. If you guess the rapid first, you win and you win a prize. And the prize is this dry bag that probably isn't very dry, actually, or Tim Palmer's Rivers of California or Tim Palmer's Rivers of Oregon, or a set of Cobra Orlocks. I'd love to get rid of those Cobra Orlocks. I have way too many of them. So if you can guess the rapid, you automatically win. If you, AJ got it. Nice job, AJ. Boom. Send Aaron an email with what you want, and we'll get it in the mail to you. Or AJ, you have my email. Just email me, AJ, what you want. You can have Rivers of Oregon, which you're an Oregonian, so I guess you'd want it. Rivers of California, or this Moravia cool dry bag with the cool design on it, or a set of, if you want some Cobra Orlocks, I'll send you some Orlocks. All right, questions. We got to that one. Here's a question.
Yeah, I strap over the Pelican case and go through the handle. So if it does slip out for some reason, it's still attached to the handle. But yeah. And sometimes I'll use 2 cam straps on if I'm really concerned about it and it's really gnar, 2 little cam straps.
I don't understand how you strap it to the floor.
Okay, imagine the floor, right? Mm-hmm. There's the lace in the floor.
Yeah.
And I'll just do 2 cam straps to make these. I'll take 2 cam straps, put it down through the floor webbing, and I have the D-rings laying on the floor. I mean, not the D-rings, the cam part laying on the floor upside down.
So it's like kind of up against the side of the boat.
Or maybe turn it this way. Turn it like that, up against, going to your right. Yeah, that way, up against the side. There we go.
So it's up against this.
Yeah.
And then what are you tying to the floor? The handle?
No, I go through around the whole box and through the handle.
So it's just one strap that goes through the floor lacing, up through here, down to the floor lacing.
Yep. And sometimes I'll do 2 in there, depending on what it is.
And it doesn't move around too much.
No, you can crank on it. You can get it really tight, and it just sits in there and hugs.
And this is probably stuff you're not getting to very often, I'm guessing, because you have to undo
first
the
first aid repair. Well, it's only 1 cam strap to undo, so it's not that hard if you have 1 on it. That's why it depends on what it is, how big.
Do you go through the lacing? Like through the like you guys Sotars, they had like the lacing, right?
Yeah, go through
the lacing and just pull hard.
Oh yeah, we rig through the lacing all the time. The lacing's incredible.
I mean, if I was running a boat that way, I would probably just girth hitch a cam strap to the lacing exactly where I want the buckle. So every time I go down there, I just like pull that strap and tie it in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. But
the strap would always be there. You don't have to every time get the strap, put it through.
I'd say, yeah, that does make sense. If it was your personal boat, I could see you do that. They'll wear the straps in that spot more. And then sometimes I'll put 2, like I'll strap another box to the first box. I'll have 2 of them there every once in a while. There's would be something random. Be like, I'll just tie it on top of it just quickly. So I don't know if I would. I like the flexibility, and it's really easy to take them out. And I like to take my cam straps out to let them dry because I like to take care of them. So I wouldn't do it that way, but yeah, you could.
You dry your cam straps?
Yeah, so they don't rot.
Oh, jeez. I think, Aaron, you and I come from a time when we didn't buy things. We just...
I still don't buy things.
Yeah, but I think this is it's a nice to have. It's not there's so many ways around it. This is convenient.
But that's what I'm saying. If I owned it, if you gave me one of those, I would bring it on the trip, but I would keep it empty.
You still rig the box down by your floor.
And I put my water in there, my lunch in there. and like
It's just quick,
sunscreen and other shit'll.
in and out thing.
Yeah. It's really easy to get in and out, get stuff out. Put sunscreen in the top inside that little zip thing.
The zip thing is actually probably better for sunscreen than Orlocks. The Orlocks, if you put metal stuff in with this meshy stuff, over time it's going to tear it out.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's how I would use it. I think exactly your use makes sense to me. If you did, I wouldn't be like, oh, he's an idiot. I'd be like, I just wouldn't use it that way. But it makes sense. I wouldn't be annoyed if someone used it that way, but I would prefer to put dangly stuff that's in your boat.
I'm not going to use it. I showed my first aid kit in there. I'm not going to do that because I use my first aid kit for a lot of different activities, not just boating. And so this first aid kit is moving around from activity to activity to activity. But if I had an R2 boat that was permanently inflated on a trailer in my garage, I probably would like this. I probably would have a first aid kit just for boating. And I would leave it. I want to leave it in here. But
let's be honest. Are you really R2ing? You're not trailing your R2 boat, first of all. That is.
Some people do. Some people do.
Do you know anyone who trailers their R2 boat? Really?
I do. Yeah. This is Oregon.
Because I'd say it's so light, can you just throw it up? The other thing, Zach, the other problem I would say that going back to Sean's point, the straps on the bottom is problematic because if you want to rig a couple of spare paddles underneath the strap on there, because that Velcro thing, let's be honest, if that's what it's for, that's not going to work well. You know how we used to loosen them? You could stuff a couple of paddles underneath and just tighten down the straps. You'd be done. And that's why I'd rather see I'd rather see the cams on the top, so it'd be easy.
You can't put the cams up top though because of the way it's designed. Like you have, Aaron, you can't put it up here because there's all this stuff here.
Yeah, you could.
No, you can't.
You just don't have to have the straps sewn onto that material. Just have a couple little things that they run through. Like those, you already got those holes on there to clip off to. You know those holes they clip off to. I don't run it through those holes.
I don't think it would work. I don't think there's maybe a way to make it
totally works.
This is a little bit cleaner. The way that
it is a little cleaner, but it doesn't work for key part.
I think that down here, the
other part I'm going to say,
it's not that big of a deal. You just get it and you pull like this.
Yeah. Okay. I need a spare. Hey Zach, I need a spare paddle. Yeah. Right. Or I found this paddle while I got a paddle from someone else flipped. I got a paddle. I want to paddle it down through this spot. Aaron,
people aren't putting by the way, our tours, sorry, audience, I apologize. Aaron's in Hawaii. He doesn't really boat anymore. He doesn't know what he's talking about. In 2022 and in 2023, people don't strap paddles on the thwarts anymore.
Yeah, we do.
No. Don't say we, because you're not R2ing in Hawaii.
No.
They shove them in the back, behind the back thwarts, and then tie them in the back.
Some people do, not all.
Aaron, when's the last time you R2'd?
Good question.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to think. I R2'd with you.
That must have been 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't 10 years ago. It was like 5 years ago.
Do we put our paddles under the thwart?
I think we didn't take them because we didn't want the extra weight because we wanted to win.
Oh, it's for a race. We brought a spare paddle. No, we would have shoved it in the back because that's easy access.
I would have said this. Since you're an outfitter and you're rich and you can afford to lose paddles, so yeah, you can stuff it in back. But I like put mine.
You don't lose them that way, Aaron. So the new thing, you shove them under the back thwart, and then you cam strap the handle to it like a back D-ring.
I know that technique. Yes, I know. I'm familiar.
Well, you don't seem to because you want to shove them under this thing.
I'd rather have them there.
Well, what you could do too,
because it's one less cam strap, and then it's
Aaron, you have this. Also, when you're R2ing, you have more than one thwart. Maybe you have this on one thwart, and another thwart has cam straps with spare paddles on it, or some other thing. This isn't the spare paddle.
Is to be able to be the whole point of R2ing is to be able to do with the minimum amount of stuff possible.
The minimum. That's not the whole point of R2ing, Aaron.
Thanks, Austin.
Well, let's see what Austin says. Over the thwart with two cam straps seems like a more stable.
Yeah, and less likely to hurt someone, get caught on something, less of an entrapment issue. Clean lines principle, Zach. Clean lines. Way cleaner.
Is more stable. It's probably more stable in the event of a flip, but when you have it in the back, like just hanging out and clipped in, it's just quick and easy to get a paddle. Like when you have to fiddle with a couple of cam straps and like get it all free, that takes time. If you're R2 in big water, you just go to the back, unclip one cam strap, and you're paddling. So I think that in the back thing that people are doing nowadays, it serves a couple of purposes. One is it's easy to rig and unrig, so it's less work put in. But also it's quick and easy to get to, and you can throw a GoPro mount on it if you need to.
Doesn't it create more entrapment issues though?
It is potentially an
The
entrapment.
paddle's hanging out there. You can get it snagged.
It's hanging out the back of the boat, though.
Yeah, if the boat's upside down, you're trying to get out from underneath the boat. It catches on your life jacket. You're trying to get out from underneath the raft.
It does. I mean, this is a trade-off thing.
Yeah.
It is a little bit more of an entrapment hazard, but you can get your spare paddle much quicker. The access to your spare paddle is much faster. If you're R2ing, let's say we're R2ing, Aaron, and it's like hard, like class 5, let's just say. How many spare paddles are we bringing for our R2 boat?
2.
So if they're on the thwart, like wrapped around the thwart, if you untie those things, one's floating free. You can't just wiggle one out.
No, you can't wiggle one out. You just loose. You don't untie. You just loosen.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is like you're like, okay, I need to like loosen it and loosen that and kind of get it. Like you just want to paddle in what you want to go, and that's where like the paddle in the back, you could unclip it and just be paddling right away.
What do you do with the other paddle?
What do you do with the other paddle?
You can untie one.
You only bring one.
You
You can tie.
You can have to bring only one spare paddle.
No, Aaron, you can tie 2 down with 2 separate things. Let's say they're coming off the very back of the boat. You just have one with one cam strap, one with another, so you can pull off one at a time. I think the way that you and Austin are talking about is very traditional, and I think for commercial guiding, it makes a lot of sense. I think the people who are going after R2ing. Are you looking in the comments and laughing again?
I think Sean's trying to get us to move on.
We'll move on. But I think nowadays the people that are like R2ing big stuff, they're going with this new technique that is a little bit more of an entrapment.
I mean, Voyages was doing that back in the 90s with their spare paddles when we were guys in there.
There you go.
Yeah, it's been around, and I've done it, and I do that sometimes. But I like being able to sit anywhere in the boat and paddle, and the paddle's not being in the way like that. Just if you have to move around the boat for some reason or something happens.
You know, Aaron, I've even been doing that technique. You know, when you have spare paddles across a thwart, that people sitting there might hit themselves on the paddle.
And I'm going to say commercial guiding, I'm more likely to do that in some ways, just so that people don't have to deal with sitting on them. That more so to me makes sense.
So I've commercially paddle boating lately have been putting my paddles, like if I'm guiding on the right and I have 6 people, I'll put them out the back. Yeah. If I have a 7th person, then I'm probably forced to put them on across the thwart. But just to get them out of the way, I've been putting them off the back.
No, I kind of like them out of the way there. I don't think it's as safe. And the other reason I don't like it off the back is if I'm switching sides. Because I'll switch sides when I'm guiding today all the time. I'll switch from one side to the other.
Awesome. I could see a paddle coming loose from a rear thwart with a single strap.
Yeah.
I've never seen it happen, but it could happen. I could see what you're talking. It seems like it could, but if it's in there tight, it's actually pretty good. Surprisingly good. Okay, let's see. Do we get
John wants to know about high water.
All right, hold on. Let's just make sure. Okay, I will get to that. All right, how high wood did you run the Illinois? I think the highest I've run is 3,500. Yeah, yep. I was on a private trip. I haven't done it commercially that high.
It gets sporty, Sean. It gets really sporty.
And I wouldn't say it's easier and harder. Some stuff is easier, some stuff harder. Greenwall, I think the line is like not super hard. It's hard for sure, but man, if you make a mistake, it's bad news. It's
I think
really
Little Greenwall is worse.
At high, when we did at 3,500, Little Greenwall was easier. It was super easy, right? Super easy. I thought we scouted it. And I was like, oh, that's it. It was washed out. Submarine hole was easy-ish.
Maybe we were higher. I think we were higher when we did it then. We were like 42. And I thought the bottom, there was a huge hole at the bottom of Little Greenwall. It was a lot.
Yeah, when I ran it at 3,500, it was washed out. But some stuff gets easier, some harder. The problem is a mistake is really hard to recover from. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily harder, but you need the team boating. Everybody like working together, a good boat spacing, good boat order, head on a swivel. thinking about swimmers the whole time as it gets higher. And I'd probably do it 5,000-6,000 with the right crew. But
In a raft or a cataract?
I'd want to be in a cataract.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I would. Commercially, I wouldn't do that because I don't want to be responsible for people's lives. But if I was with like a bunch of like really solid boaters, like people like Aaron, I'd do it at 5,000 or 6,000. But
Would you bring gear boats?
yeah, I'd row a gear boat at that high if I had to. I'd rather have a cat. I mean, I'd want to be in a cat because I'm comfortable leading, and I'd want to be lead boat in a cat. If I had you in a lead boat in a cat, I'd be super happy being in a gear boat. I don't want to be in a gear boat when there's a lead boat that I'm worried about making good decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm gear boating, there's a chance I could flip because the boat's heavy and whatever. And so if I flip, I want to know that my downstream safety is solid. If it's some doofus in the cat who's goofing off surfing, not being a good first boat, I'm not going to want to be in a gear boat. Right? So that's why I want to be in that cat boat because I'm like, hey, I'll be that person and I'll be there for whoever needs it. But so it depends. For me, it depends on that team.
Good point.
Are you going to Boatsman, Zach? Are you going, Aaron?
I'm definitely not going. You know that.
Yeah, I'm not going either. It's cool the Sacramento contingent's going.
I love this. Having said that, if I were in California, I mean, whenever I could, I mean, we did that for years, Zach. Every year we go up and run the Smith. I mean, the Smith is just phenomenal. Such a great winter run. So
yeah, I think it's just a lot of people there. And, we've reviewed some videos from Boatsmith. Actually, the live show started with us. Remember, we reviewed that footage on Oregon Hole Gorge.
Oh, yeah.
That was our first live show. And, I mean, there's a good amount of carnage. And I feel like people aren't, like, following good boat, like, good team boating techniques there. And that stresses me out. I don't like being around that. I'd like to be with a team of people who are focused and working together than just like this free for all. And I think that the Oregon Hole Gorge and South Fork Gorge are pretty hard. And, I think people say, well, my friend has done it, I'm probably going to be good. And I think people go on in those gorges that aren't ready. And I worry about an accident. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm not going to go. All right, we have more questions.
Yeah, stuff's high right now up there.
Oh, let's get to that.
It's cranking. The Klamath's over 100,000 at Klamath Glen.
The Klamath at what?
The Klamath River is over 100,000 CFS down at Klamath Glen. That's like below the Trinity, but it's over 100,000 down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the Illinois at?
Hold on. I gotta go someplace.
Here, we'll go open up a tab. Those of you that don't know, I have this like Illinois flow page that has all the graphs in one spot. Whoa, the Illinois is at 17,000 right now. Huh. That's big. These are all the different prediction graphs for the Illinois. Ooh, the Illinois is supposed to be up high for a while. Look at that. Or potentially high.
Mm-hmm.
This is our backyard. Things are coming up right now. Same thing. It's raining on snow. So the wind's above 12 feet, which is really big. Like the highest I've done it is 9, and it was pretty massively big. So 12 is super dangerous. And the Hoods is 7 feet right now today. And the Clackamas is at 13,000. Yeah, everything's pretty big right now. All right, let's get to our next question. This is about the Ultimate River Runner Contest. Aaron, do you know about the Ultimate River Runner Contest?
What is I have no idea. What is Ultimate River?
It's a contest where the winner is going to win this $1,000 immersion research gift certificate right here. And to be in the final competition, which we're doing right now, you had to have won one of the earlier rounds. And so we have 5 people who advanced to the final part. Moving back to this. And we're now to the final round of the Ultimate River Runner Contest. And so these are questions about the contest. And I should probably pull that up. we can look at the rules again for those of you interested. We're asking the people who who are in the final round to make a video, and they have to demonstrate these skills, right? And, I'll quickly go through them. Pulling the swimmer to the raft, catching eddy aggressively, catching eddy, ferrying across the line, ferry gliding, surfing, running a rapid. And there's some points for artistic quality of the video. So that's how we're judging this. And the questions about this contest are, will we be judging professional dress? And when I looked over at that just now, I don't see anything for professional dress. Did you see anything for professional dress, Aaron?
No, I didn't. It looked like actual skills. This seemed like more skill-based than jump.
Yeah. And so now I may choose to take points away from people that are dressed unprofessionally.
Well, unsafe.
Unsafe for sure.
Yeah, things that are like that's not a good idea to do.
This is winter boating, so
like if you're boating with a bucket on your head, for example,
that would be awful. I would take off points for that for sure.
That would be really bad.
Now, we're not going to nitpick for professional dress, but if people that are inadequately dressed for the conditions, we're going to take away. Safety is important here, so we're going to take out points for things that we think are unsafe. I think we answered that question. I'm attempting to sucker multiple people into getting wet in frigid weather. So what's the intent audience for your show? Adults only. I don't understand this question.
This question kind of creeps me out. Like, what are we talking about here? This is for the public when we're reading this on public. So this is going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, so the intended audience is our Gear Garage viewers. And I don't know if we have kids. I would just assume you want to be appropriate. It's not just adults. We don't know who our audience is. If we were smart about this YouTube thing, we would. So, if adults only, would you tolerate some adult rants and profanity? Think mild, jackass, ridiculous stuff, probably. I mean, I guess I don't know. Well, Aaron, would you?
I'm going to say it depends. We'll see. We may say it was a terrible idea. You can go for that. And we might say, like, oh, God, this is so raunchy. We're not even going to put it up. We're not even going to show it.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Adult raunch and profanity aren't going to give you more points.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to win, I would focus more on the skills and less on the raunch. And if one of us fools wants to wear a 50 under costume and we're going to get dock points for lack of ice, safety.
I don't like the way this is all going. This is getting a little, I feel like, too much into the show, not enough into the content.
You're already calling yourself a fool to start off. This is the ultimate river runner contest.
These are great.
Not the full contest.
Not the ultimate jackass river runner contest. Yeah. I mean, these are great questions, and it's good to put down. But there was some fun stuff in the last rounds for sure. That was fun and creative and clever. But you never felt like none of it was like, oh, that's risky. That is, that's kind of condoning unsafe boating practices.
Yeah, I don't think putting clothes over a PFD is a good idea. Yeah, I don't think I would wear. I would probably take off points for wearing clothes over a PFD. The quick reason is I can't pull you into the boat because they can't grab your PFD straps, and so I probably would take off points.
I'm going to say this
over a PFD.
Billy did that when she was one of the stunt doubles for that movie. What was that, Bird Box or whatever that movie was?
Oh yeah, Bird Box.
So
that was on the Smith River.
That was on the Smith, and so she took this huge swim down the Middle Fork Gorge, and she had clothes over a life jacket, and she said it was terrifying.
Did she swim on purpose or accident?
No, it was on purpose. It was for like they need to get the shot. She was the stunt double.
She swam the Middle Fork Gorge on purpose.
Well, yeah, one of that long. I think that long one. For the entrance rapid.
I hope she got paid really well for that.
I think she did get good money. I think they asked her to redo it, and then she's like, "No, I'm not doing it again." And then this other person who was with them went up and did it the second time. She's like, "That was awful." Yeah, and he wore more flotation, but. Yeah. So I just think it's stuff, when you start putting clothes on the outside life jacket, you have that flotation underneath, but you have so much drag and it's so hard to move. I'm not excited. That's just me. So Zach might like it. Who knows?
Might have liked Bird Box.
Do you plan to adjust the scores based on boat lake type, raft versus cat?
No.
I will say this. We're going to look at the craft you're using and what you did with that craft and how well you performed the skills. If you take a kayak and go into into the same eddy as a raft does it mean the same? If you catch a different eddy at an appropriate eddy for that craft, yeah. So I think it varies. What you say, Zach? Expectations?
I mean, our goal isn't to judge your craft. Oh my gosh, we're getting spammed.
How'd that happen? We're that good now, Zach.
I'm
We're
going to
getting
block
spammed.
that user. So we're not judging the boat you have. We're judging your skills as an ultimate river runner. So we want to see you do these things in your craft at a high level. It doesn't have to be hard. Like there's definitely more points for difficulty, but that doesn't mean we want you doing this on class 5. We just want to see you make a difficult eddy. So there's difficult eddies in class 2. We're trying to see how skilled you are. We want to judge your skill level here. And so, in the Ultimate River Runner, the first was a throw bag test. The second was doing a 3-to-1. This is the only one where we're actually testing your abilities as a boater. And so we want to see you boating at a high level. And it can be in class 2 because there are difficult eddies in class 2. There's difficult ferries in class 2. That seem reasonable, Aaron?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I got one more thing. We're done with our questions. By the way, in the Q&A show, we love answering questions that the audience has. We don't have to have pre-done questions. So if you have a question, put it in the comments so we'll get to those. But before we finish up, and unless there's more questions, I have one more thing to share that relates to our last Friday show that I was reading on Mountain Buzz. Do you ever read Mountain Buzz, Aaron?
Rarely.
I highly recommend it.
Zach, you like trolling that stuff, don't you?
No, do you know what trolling is?
Yeah, when you start talking and calling them spinnies, that's you trolling. You go into Mountain Buzz and just type spinnies and just get everyone all into a.
I don't think I text. Maybe I do. It's not. I don't mean to get you all mad. It's a good description for what they are. So this was somebody who posted on Mountain Buzz, and I screenshot it because we were talking on Friday about getting boaters for your group and making friends specifically for the Grand Canyon in the context of pirate trips. Like, what is a pirate trip?
What's QBO?
I had to look this up. Qualified boat operator. Basic. So I think that's the for the Park Service terminology for somebody who can row a boat.
Huh.
So we were talking on the Friday show about, somebody gets a permit, wants to invite their family of 5 or their 7 best friends. None of them are boaters, but they got a permit, and they're going to go out and find people to row boats for them because they got the permit. Right. And sometimes you can't find enough qualified people, so you might pay a guide.
Oh man, this sounds awful.
Right.
Particularly when they say we will be oaring 2 of the boats.
Yeah.
We'll be oaring 2 of the boats. Ooh, that's a bad sign there. Yeah. I mean, you want to pay to work, you can pay to work. And what's their launch date? They're putting in February. It's not even a great launch date.
It's not the worst, but it's not the best.
But you can get cancellations that time of year pretty easily. Just go with your own friends. And so and the $2,000 a person, that's, how do I say it? That's not unreasonable, but that's a more expensive trip.
I mean, is my question about this, Aaron, is do people want to do the Grand Canyon so bad that they would jump on this?
And go 23 days with this group of people?
Yeah.
Or is it
are they going to have no problem finding somebody?
Or 22
yeah.
20 some odd days, 21 days probably. 20. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the type of thing where it's just and I would say this is just if everyone says no, that this is going to be off. Maybe I'm going to sound like a jerk here. If everyone says no, then they can't go, and that permit will pop up for someone who could actually use it and has the proper skills to do it. So yeah,
This wasn't the intention of private permits.
No.
Right? Like I feel like this group probably should have booked a commercial trip.
Yeah. Well, they think they want. How many boats are they rowing?
I mean, the person who's listing this is oaring their boat.
Yeah. So how many boats total? Are they 3 rafts then?
I'm not sure. I'm looking for.
They're 1 to 3-ish people. Yeah.
I'm looking for one experienced rafter, preferably who's in the Grand Canyon, and is up for being the qualified boater on the trip. The qualified boater on the trip. They're qualified. This is our QBO just got a new job and bailed. Are they the only qualified boater? I don't understand.
I'm going to be a cynic too, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, did their qualified boater got a new job and bailed, or the qualified boater decided to bail?
Yeah, you're too cynical. But I think when we talk about private and commercial, I don't think these people have the experience to do the Grand Canyon. And that's the point of hiring an outfitter, going with an outfitter. They're spending $2,000 a person for REO. So it's not like they're skimping. Like how much is a commercial trip on the Grand Canyon?
Oh, for a 4, you're like 5,000 for a like 2-week oar trip. So it's more. Yeah, I think it's around 5,000 now. I have to look it up. So it depends on the trip. I mean, yeah, this is just, yeah. I think these are people like, oh, you just get a permit and then you can get people to go, and that's what they did. And people, yeah. I think if we all just kind of started shutting these down, then it would make the availability more appropriate and like, I don't know, this. Not that I don't want them to do it, but it's just like get the skills to do it then. Train up, spend the years going on rivers like so many other people have to have the skills so you can go and run it successfully. And you don't need to ask other people to do it for you. Oh, we just lost Zach. So I'm here by myself, huh? This is fantastic. All right, let's look at comments here since I'm by myself. Let's show this one. Splash jacket question. Got one for Christmas. Thinking about exchanging it. One of the options has a hood. Seems like a good. It could get in the way while boating. Thoughts. I mean, the hood's interesting. I'm not a big fan of hoods on the river personally, and I'll say if I have the hood, I feel like if I'm usually wearing a helmet or I'm wearing a wide-brimmed hat, and I find the wide-brimmed hats work well when it's raining, and I don't want the hood anyways. And the hood, it seems like it gets more water down the front if it's splashy. And if I'm wearing a helmet, the hood's not going to work anyway. So I'm not a big fan of hooded splash jackets for rafting. I think sea kayaking is a different scene. And if you're doing that, if it's got the internal one and it's got the hood on the outside, yeah, maybe. Zach, what's your feeling about hooded splash jackets?
I think they look cool. I mean, you don't need the hood, but they do look cool, especially in GoPro footage. Like if it's like shooting back and you're wearing a jacket with a hood, it just looks cool. It's like a hooded sweatshirt. Nobody wears the hood in the hooded sweatshirt.
But I worry about the hood getting caught on stuff, and it just seems like
it's not practical, but it looks cool. And I think it's a cool fashion statement.
No, that's what Zach's about. So, all right, here we go. Let's
Why, Aaron? Why?
Hey, you always want to look good. It's all about looking good for you, Zach.
Hey, before we go on, before I forget,
let me see. In that little workshop of yours, do you actually ever do any work, or you just try to put stuff out to make it look like you do work in there?
I do work. I actually do work. Hey, did you want to give me a hard time about what was that? Peacocking?
What's peacocking?
You wrote an email saying that I peacock when I'm on the show because I have all this stuff behind me.
Well, I just did give you a hard time about it, I guess.
Okay, got it. Hey, before my power just went out. That's why I left, and it's back on. But it could go out again because it's like ice storms and stuff outside.
Oh,
but I want to play this thing I redid Steve's mental angle intro.
Oh, great! Let's see it.
And I want you to see it.
It's time for the mental angle featuring Steve Welch. In this segment, Steve helps us approach the mental game of guiding, trip leading, and running whitewater. Let's all give Steve a big welcome.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. That's amazing. Steve's gonna love that. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, yeah. Should we get back? Let's get back to the.
Okay,
Let's see
yeah,
what
let's
Mark
finish this up.
took any comments.
Mark Rivers, PT, DPT, badass. You should require to have more than one qualified boater. But
Yep, exactly. I totally agree, Mark.
Yeah, but how do you define a qualified boater?
Well, I think they do have a standard. The Grand Canyon National Parks, they have a standard, and you have to have a certain amount of experience. And I agree, Mark. Like, and not even just if someone the one qualified person gets injured. Well, you need to have safety on the river. You need to. I mean, everyone should, in one way, be qualified, or the majority of people rowing boats should be qualified to be out there. That seems weird to me.
I mean,
that seems weird to me. Like, we need one of the boats to have someone qualified to run the river. And the rest, all 60, that's fine. You're not qualified to run the river. You can take the river. You can run the river. That's fine.
I mean, don't you think that people should be allowed to go on adventures? That people should be able to, like, overcome adversity and challenge themselves?
I'd say this. Yes. But I would say if our tax dollars are required to get them out of it because they're not properly prepared and they don't have the proper training, then I think it gets to be a little bit different. And then I think if it's a resource that there's not enough of that resource to go around, then I think you have to be careful about how you distribute that resource.
I mean, here's the question, Aaron. Do we want this to be a free country, or do you want to turn into communist Russia?
Exactly.
Like the Soviet Union, where the government's going to tell us exactly how to do it, when to do it, how qualified you have to be, and measure everything? Or can this just be a free country?
So like you want it to be like the Middle Fork of the salmon, where only outfitters that the government say are qualified, that follow certain rules, get to run trips there, and other companies can't run trips there because of these communist rules, like on the Middle Fork of the salmon. Is that what we're talking about?
Hey, those aren't communist rules. That's just because there has to be a limit to how many people go down the river.
Oh yeah, but you limit who can take the people and who can take the people. It's just like Grand Canyon. You're saying Grand Canyon's fine to not do that.
There's a difference.
The Middle Fork,
there's a difference, Aaron. On both the Grand Canyon and the Middle Fork, we can't have unlimited people go down the river. So there has to be some limits on the number of people. I would say that's just common sense. But like do we want to be a country that tells you have to have qualifications for every single thing you do? Like you have to do all these approved things to do things. Like what if Lewis and Clark qualified to go across the country and explore the West?
I think there's a difference. They kind of were actually, and they had the experience between the two of them. That's the whole point. They did have experience. They were the most qualified people to do it, right? Because Lewis had all this training on.
Okay, they were
the Clark and
they were more ready than anybody else. But my point is, like, you don't like you. Do we want to allow people to go out in the woods and
do something stupid and do stupid things?
Yes.
And I'd say yes in general, but I would also say is like, okay, not in a resource that's in such high demand. And there's a lot of people who can't get to do it. And then not when it's costing us if we just let them go out there and die, sure. But we're not going to let them just go out there and die. Then I'd be all about it. If we just let them go out there and die and just say, you got to figure it out on your own, you got to take care of yourself. Yeah, that's good. But you're endangering other people's lives. Other people have to come in and rescue you. You're putting a lot of hardship on other people because you don't have the proper training. And we know you don't.
I mean, it seems to me a lot of people are doing the Grand Canyon with almost no experience.
Why do we have driver's license? Keep everyone safe.
I mean, the fact that you took a test on a computer and then drove around when you were 16, like, come on. It's not that hard to get a driver's license. It's not that hard, but they take it away from people too as they get older. And I think that's probably best for everyone. Okay. You know, I'm just asking the question. I didn't mean to like cause this whole debate, but I think that at some point we need to let people like live their lives and do their things.
Zach, I agree with that basic premise that let them live their lives and do it, you know, but I also think like we don't let people swim the Grand Canyon. You're not allowed to just get up to put in and go swim down anymore. That's against the rules.
Maybe you should be allowed to do that.
Maybe. Yeah. Like I said, when these people, it causes problems when they don't know.
Yeah, okay. So because it causes problems, people shouldn't be able to do it.
Well, it's costly and it endangers other people's lives as a result.
So I think Mark's making a good point. I think that I
agree with Mark.
I mean, getting like this is the tricky thing because there's like commercial companies if you're not experienced, you can hire qualified guys with the gear to take you down the river. If you are experienced, there's this option to get a private permit where you and your experienced friends go down the river. Or if you're not experienced, you and your friends are going to go on an adventure and you're going to get to camp late. You're going to starve sometimes. You're going to overcome adversity and pass that. I think that's a small sliver of people to boat, right? Like we see people on the Middle Fork all the time. They're not prepared for the Middle Fork. And as long as it's like they're wearing PFDs and proper dress, I'm like, you know what? They're on an adventure. Like, don't get too upset with them. They're a bunch of people who want to do something that challenges them. We, on the other hand, are on a vacation. And we want some challenge, but we're going to have appetizers at 4:30 and sip wine in the evenings. Where this other group is going to be sitting around their whisper light stoves, trying to keep their hands warm.
No one's sitting around their whisper light stoves in the Great Canyon because they're paying $2,000 to get the luxury outfit
that
edition.
But I think there's some people who do the Grand Canyon who do it on like the minimum, the not luxury version. And they're just like a bunch of 17-year-olds who are like, let's just rent some rafts and see what happens. I kind of feel like that should be allowed. Like when I was 17, I wanted to do things like that. Like, let me go do these bold things and overcome adversity and put my heart and soul into it. What I don't agree with though is like, now I'm older. So like if I went and did a Grand Canyon with no experience, it would be really bad. When I was 17, it would have probably gone great. Right now, not so good. What I don't like is when it's like, hey, I got a permit. I'm going to invite my 6 friends who know nothing and then ask a bunch of people we don't know to row the boats down the river. I think that's a misuse of private permits. That's my opinion. I think those people should just go on a commercial trip. And that lives in that gray area. Unfortunately, there's not a place where you can get a permit and then hire guides to like help you with your private trip. I think that's the gray area we talked about last time in the conversation.
Well, I think what was that movie? That book that got turned into a movie where the guy dies out in Alaska. What was that one?
Into the Wild.
Where in the movie they make it that he paddles the Grand Canyon, even though he really paddled. No, he really paddled the Rio Grande, I believe. He didn't paddle.
I read the book. He paddled the Grand Canyon.
Did he? I thought he did the Rio Grande.
No, he did. He tried to go all the way to Baja.
Did he?
No, he tried to go all the way to Baja. I'm pretty sure he did the Grand Canyon. And he got caught in all these like weird irrigation things and didn't make it to Baja. Yeah. So if somebody knows, comment. I'm pretty sure I'm right. I read it like 20 years ago, so I could have forgotten. Typically the hood folds up and zips in the collar. That'd be cool.
Oh, you know what? I think it was.
What?
I don't think he kayaked. Did he kayak the Colorado River in Grand Canyon, or he kayaked it just downstream of Grand Canyon?
I thought he did it through the Grand Canyon, but I read it a long time ago. So before I even knew what boating the Grand Canyon was, so I probably read it 30 years ago.
Because cute. Yeah, because he says McKay kayaks down the Colorado River, and though told by park rangers he may not do so without license, he ignores their warnings and goes downriver to Mexico. So he takes this kayak and he kayaks the Grand Canyon, then portages it around Lake Mead and Boulder Dam, and then puts it downstream and keeps paddling, and then goes past those other dams downstream. I don't think so.
Yeah,
this is I'm pretty sure he was downstream of Grand Canyon.
Somebody out there knows.
I'm pretty sure he didn't run the Grand Canyon. I think that's the whole point, is he didn't run the Grand Canyon.
Are you gonna sit there and Google it for a while, or can we have a conversation?
We can do it. Okay.
Do what? Google it or conversation? Somebody out there knows. I'm pretty sure he did the Grand Canyon. Anyway, let's move on from this topic because we got into this all last week. The Park Service has section you need to fill out about your qualifications. I think that's good. I think that's good. Yeah, I'm with you. And there should be more than one qualified boater. I do feel like there's some people who want to like.
Zach, the thing is, if you really want an adventure, the Grand Canyon is, and there's so many people around. There's so much going on. Maybe a winter trip. but if you really want to adventure and really test yourself, I'd say like go someplace, get a pack raft, get out there, get someplace, get away from people.
I think this is a good point. And I think this sums up I agree with you here, Mark. I think that if it's like there's 5 of you and you're young and you're strong and you want to push yourselves, I love that. But it's when you invite your 5 friends who don't know what they're doing, that's when you need qualified voters. But the private permit has to work for both the dude with their friends and the adventure dudes. There's not multiple buckets. They're all in the same bucket. And so I agree that the group that's bringing the 5 friends who don't know what they're doing should have a lot of qualified voters. There should be like 5 of them. But I also want to leave the door open for that group of athletes who want to test themselves and do something really cool. We don't know the answer to this. This would be a great master's thesis. I've done Grand Canyon trips with 1 or 2 QBOs and I felt pretty safe. Yeah, interesting. What do you think, Aaron?
I think, like Zach, I think it depends on who the people are in charge and who the people are bringing with you. There's people, like I have a couple friends that who are my age still, and I would bring them down, having them never rode a boat before, and I know they'd be fine, and I could help them down.
You could mentor them for a week and say, hey, let's catch this eddy, this downstream ferry here. You could prepare them to do it. And they know they're in, hey, you'd beat over your head, but listen to me, we're going to get through this together. And they want that kind of trip.
But you've done enough stuff with them to know the type of people are and how they are mentally. And I think Alex is right. And you guys are both right. With certain groups of people, you can definitely do it. But my thing is like, if you got one of those groups of people, you can go do something else super badass too. But unfortunately, a lot of the groups I'm seeing out there, that's not who they are. They're just random people who think they're going to do it, and they don't have I don't know. It's just like, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
And the Park Service has to have one set of rules everybody follows. Yeah. They have to worry about the 55-year-old person who was a guide 30 years ago and isn't in that good a shape. I'm just totally stereotyping here right now. That isn't in very good shape now, that invites their in-laws and a couple of their friends, and then goes on Mountain Buzz and finds a qualified boater, and we'll figure it out. And I think that's the people that might get into trouble.
Well, and I think there's also this expectation.
I'm stereotyping big time here.
Yeah, I think there's also this attitude in Grand Canyon. If you get in trouble, you just call the Park Service and they come in and help you. You've got your satellite phone. You're required to have a satellite phone there. You call, they come in and they rescue you and they take care of it. And so, I don't feel like that when you have that type of safety net that you just have a satellite phone, you just call someone, they're going to come take care of you right afterwards. It's not like, ooh, you're really,
So if you go in the Grand Canyon, you mess up and you get evacuated, it's free?
Yep. As long as you get helivac'd out by National Park Service. If for some reason the National Park Service helicopter is busy and you get helicopter out by somebody else, then you could get charged. The other thing is, once you get up top, then once they get you out of the canyon, it's different. But yeah, it's free to be evacuated out of the canyon. We pay for it as taxpayers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Mark. Very astute things.
But Zach, I will say, and I think we both know some people who were involved with something like this. There are some trips where they think the evacuation wasn't for real reasons, that someone just wanted to be out there because they weren't having fun with everyone else. Then they will make you pay if they figure out that you were lying about needing the evac.
How do they find that out? Oh, you go to the doctor, and doctor's like, nah, they're fine. They made it out.
Yeah, they like, okay, show us documentation that this was actually a problem. Show us that you hurt this thing and what the cause was, because they're like,
wait, we know people like this?
Yeah, there's some people. I was on a trip down there, and there were some people that we both know that the Park Service was kind of interrogating all the people on the trip because they thought it was like kind of shady what happened. Yeah.
AJ, I'm glad you liked it. We definitely went down those rabbit holes for sure.
All right.
Should be 2 different private, or a mix, be able to float and camp together in a pairs one trip. So 2 different permit holders, private, commercial, or a mix. I don't think so. I would say no. And I would say no because from my experience, we do commercial trips, and I've done commercial trips with like musicians before or special guests, and I've had ex-guides want to oh, we'll just, or like certain people, we'll get a private permit and we'll just tag along.
He's not talking about that though.
Okay.
He's talking about private or commercial. So like, let's just say you got a group of 50 people.
Oh, like not private,
then,
commercial, private
yeah.
stay together. Okay, got it. So, should private, commercial, private be able to float and camp together? I mean, I think it depends on the trip. I think on the Rogue, it's okay because like there could be a private group of 3 to a private group of 5. Right, and they had
he's really talking about the larger ones. I think we're getting at. It's like you're talking like 2 groups of 16 on Grand Canyon, and I know.
I mean, it depends on the river quite a bit.
Like what Grand Canyon is interesting is because the private trips are limited to 16 people each. So 2 groups of them is 32, which is about the size of a full commercial trip. So there, I'd be like, you know, like if you guys all want to be together, sweet. That gives more of the river for the rest of us in some ways. 2 commercials though, that's like almost 60 people in Grand Canyon, and I like the impact of that is just oof.
I mean, I know of commercial trips on the Rogue where there's a group of 40 that wants to go, and so the outfitter gets a second start that day and runs 140 per trip. It does happen.
Yeah.
Should they be able to do that? I can't see why. It depends on the river.
The camps, I think it can really negatively impact campsites.
Yeah. What if the total number of people exceeds permit max? Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the river. I think on the Rogue, I wouldn't do it in the summer because you can't get a camp. If it's gonna be 40 people, let's say, or 30 people, you are basically saying I have to have these certain camps, and if you don't get them, you're going to go into a camp that's not adequately sized for a group. Like you have to get Tyee, you have to get Half Moon, you have to do the bottle. The Middle Fork, I would say no. You shouldn't go over the permit max. So like. If it's 2 privates, a group of 6, a group of 5, and they want to share on the river in a camp, fine. But if it's a group of 20 and 20 on the Middle Fork, I'd say no. There's not camps. There's only 1 or 2 camps that can handle a group that big. So I would say no on the Middle Fork. On the Grand Canyon, I think, like you said, 2 privates could mix, but probably not 2 commercials. I mean, I think it depends on the river. And I would ask the managing agency for that river what they think.
I would say this: I wouldn't want to be part of that trip.
You would or you wouldn't?
I wouldn't in general. I don't see the purpose. My purpose of being out in the wilderness, I guess, is to have small groups and be out there and enjoy being out in the wilderness. And if you have 60 people, I don't know.
60 is a lot. What if it was 40?
Even 40. Honestly, I feel like 20 people is about the max I like. I prefer to be in like the mid-teens. I think that's like optimal. But like that's optimal.
That's for you.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, I mean,
and I understand for usage and commercial trips and all that stuff, it's higher. But I think like my favorite trips are trips around, I'd say 12 to 20 people in that range are my favorite trip size.
Yeah, it's a good size.
In general, it's fun every once in a while to do a small trip, but I like that. Those are nice group sizes. Like the 8-group person trips are really fun too. But
I mean, I like the Illinois where it's 8 guests and 4 guides. It's a really nice size. It's like intimate. But I also like a Middle Fork when there's 30 of us. There's a lot of people to talk to. There's just a lot of like, you guys go hiking and we're gonna do this, and the camps can handle it. So I think, they all have their advantages and disadvantages.
But but it would be pretty sick to be doing 8-person Middle Fork trips. That would be pretty neat too. And then just each launch had 8 total people, whatever, 12 total people in it, and there were way less people out there. That could be an amazing experience.
It wouldn't change the experience that much.
It'd be a lot quieter.
It's not loud. It's not like rock music playing everywhere and people yelling. It's not that loud out there. And I don't know what you're thinking.
It'd be a lot quieter.
Oh,
anyway,
it's not quieter than quiet. It's already quiet.
Zach's worried that I'm going to be pushing for permits to be reduced in size.
I'm not worried about it. Aaron,
it's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
I'm not worried about it either.
Yeah, things are the way they are for a reason. So to answer your question, should they be able to float and camp together in a Pierce one trip? I think it depends on the river. It depends on also the time of the year. I think I might say yes on the Rogue in the fall and no in the summer.
Yep. I think, Johnny, I think you're right. I think with the increased communication, like back in the day when you were going down and you had no real way of getting a hold of people, you better know what you're doing. You better be on it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think even the fact that we can have broken bones fixed, that's why people skateboard and go off massive jump skiing. If you broke a bone and it was broken forever, adventure sports would be totally different. We do crazy things because a hospital can fix us. MH and SOS button. Yeah.
Yep.
Some people I bow with have taken non-brain strangers on the ground. Shit show to say the least. Funny stories though.
Yep.
I mean,
I bet that's exactly like you get a lot of value out of the stories after the fact, but at the moment, yeah.
I mean, I think it depends too. I think it totally depends. I think a good person in charge who explains things well with good non-boaters who are like nice people who are willing to help, it could be amazing. But
yeah, but
also,
if you're good at, but I'm gonna say if you're that good at that, you might as well work a commercial trip and leave one of those and make money off of it instead of doing it for free.
come on, it's ridiculous.
What? That's true.
Ridiculous.
If you have that skill, yeah.
But I think
leading strangers
some
down
people,
the river that people you don't know.
Yeah, some people enjoy that style of trip more than a commercial trip.
Interesting point. Okay.
But I think there's a spectrum from like good leadership, nice people who are willing to help, and like, you know, all the way to like poor leadership, and the people who are non-boaters just get to camp and sit in a chair and drink beer, right? Like that aren't a part of the team, aren't willing to help, aren't like a good addition to the trip. So I think there's a whole spectrum here. It can go really well, it can go really bad, or somewhere in between.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree, and I'm almost positive. I'll put money on it, Zach, that he did not run whatever Into the Wild Boy. Didn't actually run the rapids of the Grand Canyon.
Do we have to Google this, Aaron?
Yeah, we do.
Did you already? How come?
No, I'm just sure. I haven't looked it up yet. But I was going to try to find it, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
this isn't that hard. Just Google it. Yeah, he camped at the. I mean, I just Googled it. The first thing.
He arrived in Lake Mead area.
His parents. Are you looking at this cliffnotes.com website that came up first?
You can't look at the filming locations. The filming's.
No. I'm looking at the cliff notes for the book. Reaches private investigator canoes on the Colorado River.
Yep. He
starts in Needles. Canoes in the Colorado River, apparently traveling through Lake Havasu. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, he didn't go to the Grand Canyon.
No, the movie they make it sound like he paddled the Grand Canyon, but no way, because he does it like in a canoe. Yeah, it's all BS.
He was He was discovered by a park ranger in October 1990, and then in October 28th, he reaches the Colorado River, walks to the desert, arriving in Topeka, Arizona, where he buys a secondhand canoe. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe he didn't. You're probably right.
He didn't. That's the funny thing about that movie is it's like it's not. It's.
I've never seen the movie. I just read the book a long time ago, so I'm basing my knowledge off of reading the book a long time ago. There's a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
was it good?
About it. I know, but a bunch of people got like paid to be part of it in Grand Canyon, and then they all thought it was funny because he didn't actually run the rapids of the Grand Canyon. So, yeah.
Oh, he already knew the answer to this.
All right. I was pretty sure, but it took me a while to remember. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Now I remember it." And you may be skeptical because you said you'd read the book, and I never read the book. So,
my memory of from the book was that he went to the Grand Canyon, but the Grand Canyon extends past Takeout, right? Doesn't the historic Grand Canyon?
The Grand Canyon ends. It ends well at the top of Lake Mead.
Before Lake Mead existed, did the Grand Canyon? Is that where it ended?
Yes. Yeah, because Black Canyon is below Lake Mead.
Okay. All right. You're right about everything today, Aaron. Good for you.
Well, I know a little bit. I spent a little time there. So yeah. Anyways.
All right. Well, let's close this one up. Hey, this is before you do your close up, Aaron. Another great show. We were especially mediocre today. Thank you to our audience for the great commentary, for the friendship, for the setting us straight on some things. Congratulations to AJ for winning a prize. And Aaron, I just want to say I really enjoy spending this time with you twice a week. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Zach. Hey, how many what are not members? What's that thing called? How many
subscribers, subscribers? We have 9,145 on our way to 10 million.
9,145. There aren't 10 million rafters in the world. Let's be honest. I think we got all of them already. I think there was like 9,000 of us.
Yeah, I think some people have created 2 accounts.
Ooh,
that's how we have so many. Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Keep doing that. Create 2 accounts and make sure you subscribe.
Yeah. And just watch it on 2 computers at the same time.
No, just subscribe. All we need is the subscribers. Just don't even watch the show. Just subscribe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
the show is very mediocre. I wouldn't recommend anybody watch this. But at a minimum, subscribe.
Okay, sounds good. Great. So we'll be back on Friday.